you can use this because I'm up here.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome to Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship. I'm Reverend Paul Beckel.
And I'm Reverend Tessie Mandeville, and may the forest be with you today.
And may the forest this May the 4th evoke in you the forces of depthless gratitude, expanded consciousness, and renewed commitment, as if your life depends upon our sacred forest's health and well-being.
Thank you for coming together today on Zoom and in person as we reflect together on our interdependence with our life-giving forests. Come with your joy as well as your grief, your questions, your prayers, and generous spirit. For our chalice lighting this morning, I'm sharing a pantoum, either by way of reminder or by way of introduction. A pantoum is a style of poetry that originated in Malaysia in the 15th century as a short folk poem. And it's generally written in 4-line stanzas, and some of the sentences repeat. I wrote this pantoum in Diguala State Park, which is just a little south of Deception Pass. And it's called, When I'm in the Forest, I Could Not Care Less. When I'm in the forest, I could not care less about schedules, time, ringing in my ears. I release coulda, woulda, shoulda. I could not care less about supposed to, ought to, need to. I release coulda, woulda, shoulda. I listen for the call of the woodpecker and the breathing of the trees. About supposed to, ought to, need to, it doesn't matter here. I listen for the call of the woodpecker and the breathing of the trees. I follow the sounds of the eagles until it's time to go home. It doesn't matter here about schedules, time, ringing in my ears. I follow the sounds of the eagles until it's time to go home when I'm in the forest. Now I invite everyone to say our covenant together as Paul lights our chalice. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service gives it life. Celebrating our diversity and joined by a quest for truth, we work for peace and honor all creation. This is our covenant. And now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as you're able, and let's sing together. Faith is a Forest. It's number 194 in your gray hymnal, or the words will also be up on the screen.
Some of you kids probably know about rainforests, so most of what I'm going to say is probably good reminders for the adults, but tune in anyway. So if you've lived here, probably some of the little kids have lived here all of your lives, and so you may not realize that there are a lot of places where it doesn't rain quite as much as it does here. It rains so much here that some of our forests are called rainforests. And they have levels in them, from the ground to underground, to the ground, to a little bit here and here and here, and all these different layers depending upon how much light they get, because the plants shade out and get darker and darker toward the bottom, and how much water they get depend upon how the animals live and grow and interact and feed each other. And so I have a song that I'm going to teach to you that speaks of these different layers, underground, and then there's one part called the understory. Around here, you might know that on the ground we have like mice and moss and salamanders, so that's what I mean by on the ground. And then the understory, that's like the ferns and the nurse logs that are nurturing the trees that grow out of the nurse logs. And then there's other layers where, you know, the jays, the Steller's jays fly. And then up higher, you get owls and what's called a canopy, where there's the giant trees that have been living for maybe even 1,000 years. And there's even a layer called immersion, which are just the little bits that are shooting way out, trying to reach all the way to the sky. So this is a song that talks about all those layers, and I have some helpers who are going to come up and sing with me. And I want you to jump in with them watch their mouths and listen to what they sing, and you can just jump in with them as you learn the song. Why don't you all stand with us too? On the ground level, turtles and leopards and snakes live in the shelter the understory makes. The ground is so soft and the air is so clear, with 300 inches of rain every year. Oh, let the rain feed the thirsty ground. Sing me a song of life, you sing such a beautiful sound. Oh, let the rain feed the thirsty ground. Sing me a song of life, you sing such a beautiful sound. And down underground, the worms and the ants nurture the roots of the flowering plants. And up in the canopy, life is a breeze. Orangutans swing from the limbs of the trees. Oh, let the rain feed the thirsty ground. Sing me a song of life, you sing such a beautiful sound. Oh, let the rain feed the thirsty ground. Sing me a song of life, you sing such a beautiful sound. And high up above, where the toucans fly, emergent treetops reach into the sky. There's more kinds of plants than anyone knows. Look out! There's a sloth hanging by her 3 toes. Oh, let the rain feed the thirsty ground. Sing me a song of life, you sing such a beautiful sound. Oh, let the rain feed the thirsty ground. Sing me a song of life, you sing such a beautiful sound. The understory, the understory, the understory, the understory. On the ground levels, the ground levels, the ground levels, the ground levels, on the ground levels, the ground levels, on the ground levels. Canopy, canopy, So you little ones are going to go off to your classroom now, but I think you have leaves. If you do, or Carrie has a basket of leaves, you can take one and add to our forest that we're building right here before you go off to your classrooms. You want to come on up and grab a leaf and add to our forest? Rain come down, 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 come down, rain come down, rain come down, rain come down. Rain come down, rain come down. That was so much fun to sing together. Every first Monday of the month evening at 7 o'clock, we have a different kind of service called Taizé. It involves candlelighting and gentle chants and meditation. It's held here in the sanctuary and on Zoom at the same Zoom link as we do on Sunday mornings. Tomorrow night, the service will be dedicated to Leslie McPhee, who died a couple of weeks ago. And we're also going to be having an informal memorial gathering for Leslie on May 30th. It's a Friday at 2 o'clock. All of the details that I'm going to be sharing in these announcements are also going to be in our midweek update, which you can get if you give us your name and contact information either on the buff-colored slips in your pews or out at the entryway. There's slips as well. 2 weeks from now, celebrating the democratic spirit with which we operate, we're having our annual congregational meeting, where in particular we elect our officers and nominating committee, and we also determine what our budget will be for the coming fiscal year. So everyone is welcome at the annual meeting. Members are eligible to vote. We do have a list of members on just out that door and on the wall. So look up to your name and make sure that you're on it. If you're not and you feel you should be, please let me know, minister@buff.org. Let's see. This Friday, the auction team, we do a big auction fundraiser every fall, and the team is going to be getting organized already. Hooray for them. We need your help. They're meeting at the Downtown Food Co-op and gathering in the room above the deli. And Drew, you here? Yep. Look for Drew after the service and she can give you more detail. And again, she'll be down at coffee hour, and again, more information will be in the midweek update as well. Along with a class we have for newcomers called Pathways. This is for adults to get to know each other and to connect with other newcomers. We want you to feel comfortable, get to know, well, both other newcomers and a longer time people. So there's coffee hour for that, but let me get to the point. The Pathways class is a one-session thing on a Saturday morning. That's 2 weeks from yesterday, from 10 to 2 p.m. And I'll be there too to talk about Buff and Unitarian Universalist history, but it's mostly to get a feel of how we operate around here in our human connections, which I think is the deepest part of what sustains us. Felice Davis, are you here, Felice? Felice also has more information. Talk to her afterward if you want. Felice, could you stand and show everybody your face so they know who to look for? And then her phone number and email address will be also in the midweek update. And Lee and Michael also have announcements.
Okay, that works better. I'm Lee Seaman, and I'm here with an update on our pledge drive. As of yesterday, we have 366 pledges. We're right at $360,000. That is 4 pledges more than last year and $10,000 more than... What did I write? 366. It's 166. Sorry about that. Yeah. You know what we need is community help. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So we're at, we can be really proud of that. And I want a big thank you to my co-chairs on the stewardship, Stephanie Rains and John Jersica. And yes, they did great. And Michelle was amazing, our wonderful secretary and office manager, and all the canvassers. We have 38 canvassers this year. We had a post-canvassing team that was awesome, and they had a lot of work to do, and they did it. And everybody worked behind the scenes to make this all happen. So we did. I'm really proud of us. Unfortunately, our expenses went up more than our income. So we haven't raised enough to keep things at the same level as last year because expenses have gone up, especially with the new interim minister. So we have some hard decisions to make, and we have a budget discussion, the first one down in the Buff Library at 12 o'clock today. Please come for more information. We will work this through together as a community, as we always do. I just really appreciate this community of Buff. Thank you for your generosity. You make Buff awesome.
Good morning. I'm Michael Barris, and a different kind of update. This is about our safety committee, which is currently Felice Davis, Jim Reimer, Sarah Pearson, Ellie Steele, Michelle Fox, Paul Beckel, and myself. And this committee's been working for the last 6, 7, 8 years on a variety of safety issues, mostly things that are not seen. You wouldn't know that we're working on those things, but we have been for a long time. I also want to particularly mention, there have been other people who have been on the committee, but especially a thanks to Kathy Watto, who did a lot of work behind the scenes. We all got onto the committee for different reasons. For example, Ellie really being interested in health issues, myself being interested in intruder kind of issues. And we meet about every 6 to 8 weeks. So these are some of the things, but not all of the things that we've been doing. AEDs throughout the church, new safety signage with emergency maps for safety events, implementation of fire and emergency drills, updated first aid kits and procedures, behavioral guidelines that help us call the police for support when we need it, incident reporting forms, periodic safety trainings on de-escalation, unsafe intruders, mental health concerns, safety locking, motion detectors, coded entry systems, and monitoring for all doors. And Felice, I'm so glad you're sitting here, because you may not know that, but for slightly longer than forever, Felice has been volunteering to work at the doors rather than being here. So It's just that unseen kind of thing. Agreements with all rental groups to uphold our increasing safety standards, criminal background checks for all who work with our youth, data safeguard protections for all of our confidential information, air quality and circulation improvements, and an effective collaborative relationship with both the Bellingham Police Department and the Bellingham Fire Department. I want to mention one last thing that's sort of an odd thing, because safety committees have been around in organizations forever, for longer than Felice has been working on the doors. And mainly they work with first aid kits, fire drills, things like that. But we unfortunately live in a very different era now, where we have to plan for hostile people who intentionally or non-intentionally might cause us harm. We wish we didn't have to plan for that, but we do. For example, many of you know that Indivisible rents space from Buff once a month for our all-hands meetings. And for almost every single one of those meetings, we have a collaborative plan with the police should they be needed based on the content. There's lots of good things that have happened. Mainly we do it quietly. There's a lot of other things that we still need to do. So if you're interested in being on the silent committee, please ask any one of us who've been doing it. So thanks a lot.
If you would, I invite you to take a deep breath with me. Another one. Let's have a time of meditation together. Andrea plays here in just a moment. I'm going to share a pantoum that I wrote at Kukutali Preserve. Kukutali Preserve, which is down near La Conner, is the first park in the history of the United States to be co-owned and jointly managed by a federally recognized Indian tribe and a state government. In this case, it's the Swinomish tribe and Washington State Parks. This pantoum is entitled, "Beauty is Necessary to Our Salvation." I stand still along the water's edge and stop the incessant crunching of rocks, shells, and mollusks beneath my feet. I bask in the silence, save for the calls of the kingfisher, the eagles, seagulls, and woodpeckers. One would not know the country is on fire in the peace of this moment. I breathe the cold winter air into my lungs and feel them expand inside the soft, fragile flesh of my body. I bask in the silence, save for the calls of the kingfisher, the eagles, seagulls, and woodpeckers. These are not to be outdone by the loons in the lagoon, the snow geese and heron nearby, and the solidity of the rock that makes this island I happen to be upon. I breathe the cold winter air into my lungs and feel them expand inside the soft, fragile flesh of my body. Looking into the clear water that flows down from the mountains and creates these bays, I am struck by a desire to be as transparent in my love, to see as clearly into our collective humanity and vulnerability. These are not to be outdone by the loons in the lagoon, the snow geese and heron nearby, and the solidity of the rock that makes this island that I happen to be upon. This island that was slated to become a nuclear power plant was advocated for and saved by a small group of passionate citizens who said no. Looking into the clear water that flows down from the mountains and creates these bays, I am struck by a desire to be as transparent in my love, to see as clearly into our collective humanity and vulnerability. This rock, these trees, this earth and wildlife and water was preserved because people understood that beauty is necessary to our salvation. This island that was slated to become a nuclear power plant was advocated for and saved by a small group of passionate citizens who said no. One would not know the country is on fire in the peace of this moment. This rock, these trees, this earth and wildlife and water was preserved because people understood that beauty is necessary to our salvation. I stand still along the water's edge and stop the incessant crunching of rocks, shells, and mollusks beneath my feet.
If you're not real familiar with the book of Psalms in the Hebrew scriptures, you may have the impression that they're mostly soothing, comforting poetry or words to be put to music. And they can be thought of as love songs, but hardly in the sense of overwhelming sweetness and light. Yes, they do conclude with effusive thanksgiving and praise to God, but only after lengthy lamentations about the singer's pain, hinging on despair in the experience of life's inexplicable cruelty, unfairness, and suffering. The Psalms are brutally honest in their grappling with a world that just doesn't make sense. With all of the power of the universe to sustain us, why? How? Who is responsible for the unfathomable destruction, dislocation, and debasement? All of the goodness and beauty we grew up assuming we could count on forever? Throughout my life, I have felt a spiritual dependence upon the forest. We had dozens of acres of tall and well-spaced Norway pines and white pines and poplar on our farm, and large areas that were once planted with Christmas trees but were never tended or harvested, and they grew into their own dense and dark little ecosystem. So I took it for granted, whether I wanted to hide or run or crawl or dig or camp, toboggan with friends, or to be so removed from any human company that I could sing and scream at as loud as I wanted for as long as I wanted. I liked that a lot. I have carried that feeling of freedom with me throughout my life. Even when there have not been forests directly at hand, that visceral sense of trusting dependence was very readily transferred into my biological and practical understanding that the woods are intricate, strong, and essential to every facet of our well-being. But now when I go into the forest, I almost cannot go into the forest because that visceral sense of wonder and gratitude and trust only thinly coats this deeper horror. It's really hard for me whether to hike or to look out on the hills from afar and not cringe in grief and worry. When my theology shifted from trust in a supernatural cosmos toward being grounded in the natural, my sustaining metaphor became the cycle of life and death, and life and death, and life and death. And the beauty of biodiversity, the wonder of everything, limited in time, says the math, but for all practical purposes, eternal. Unitarian Universalism, once rather intellectual, has in recent decades fully embraced this more dynamic metaphor, as well as its inescapable, proud, and joyful calling to live our interdependence with the web of all creation of which we are a part. As if the cycle will perpetually sustain itself with no end. But will it? When I call myself and others to action to prevent the destruction of the forests, this has always been a practical application of what I say I believe, grounded in the real world, not just abstract ideas. But is it real? In the sense that what we do can have practical significance? I read Al Gore's book, Earth in the Balance, in 1992. And I thought, oh no, will it even be possible to reverse this deeply ingrained momentum with carbon levels not just too high already, but increasing rapidly? Well, he said, we have 10 years before it becomes irreversible, maybe 20. And the decades pass, and the scientists' rhetoric shifts to how much damage might still be preventable. And those in charge shift too, from passively accepting the destruction to actively, gleefully promoting it. So for me, the forest is both a source of distress, and it's also the place to hold my agony. It's where I have to tell myself again and again and again, let your heart break so your spirit doesn't have to. Let your heart break so that your spirit will not have to. Because the forest is here. It is now. It is beautiful and nurturing and exciting and enticing. The forest is at risk, and this grieves me. And yet there it is. There it is. So today, if you have heard the forest call to you, or cry with you, or if today you have felt her blessing, walk gently and with reverence.
As Paul said, and yet, the forest is here right now, and it's nurturing and enticing and powerful. And that includes eros energy. I wrote this next pantoum at Stimpson Family Nature Reserve, which is in Sudden Valley, and it's called I Pray in the Color Green. What if I told you I find the forest incredibly sensual? Would it surprise you to know her smells, mounds, and curves are sources of pure ecstasy? She is distinctly feminine. Would it surprise you to know I love the smell of a wet forest? She is distinctly feminine. I taste her and I want more. I love the smell of a wet forest. I pray in the color green. I taste her and I want more. I touch her and I am made whole again. I pray in the color green. Her smells, mounds, and curves are sources of pure ecstasy. I touch her and I am made whole again. What if I told you I find the forest incredibly sensual? Here's something I've come to understand. We can be in joy, lamentation, eros, rage, frustration, meditation, confusion, and everything in between. The beauty is in allowing ourselves to feel whatever we feel in any given moment and showing hospitality to all of it. Each of us are here today with different thoughts and feelings in our minds and hearts and spirits, and we welcome it all into our forest communion. As Andrea begins to exquisitely improvise on the piano, no pressure, but she just can't help herself. Surely we can get an amen on that. Amen. I invite you, as you're comfortable, to close your eyes. I'm going to lead us in a ritual. I invite you to see a deep green forest all around you. You could go off in different directions, but first, let's be right here in this moment. In a soft stillness, I invite you to shine a warm light into your heart and notice what's there. What is most alive in you today? If you are tempted to judge it harshly, try and resist. Simply breathe and notice. After all, there is a myriad of ways to be in the forest. No one way is better than the other. They just are. The forest is enormous and able to hold all that you bring with you. Immersed in the deep green forest, you feel a cool breeze on your skin. You hear the sounds of the leaves falling as the wind whispers its way through the trees. You gently open your eyes and look around at the leaves and choose one to hold in your hand. Those of you in the sanctuary selected a leaf from the tray when you entered the sanctuary this morning. And I invite you to hold that leaf in your hand now. Those of you on Zoom, you should be able to see a picture of a leaf on your screen. Using your finger, either on the leaf in your hand or using the finger to touch the leaf on the screen, I invite you to write your joy or grief or confusion or gratitude, whatever it is that you're feeling, write it onto the leaf. The leaf, no matter its size, can mysteriously grow to hold all that you need to write on it. So don't worry if you find you have more to say than you thought you would. Just write what's true for you. And now, in the deep green forest, you see a tree that you're drawn to, and you notice a knothole in it. You feel a strong desire to place your leaf into the knothole. For those of you physically in the sanctuary with us this morning, I invite you to come quietly, mindfully, intentionally to the forest altar that we created, and to tuck your leaf into the knothole of the tree. And for those of you on Zoom, Paul is going to tuck a large leaf into the knothole for you that holds everything that you wrote on your leaf on the computer screen. So as Andrea continues to play, let's come forward now as you are willing, comfortable, and tucking your leaf into the warm, solid strength of the tree who is willing and able to welcome it, to hold it, to understand it, to nourish it, to heal it, and in due season to compost it. Today, we did this as a personal ritual, but within the context of community, because as we know, we are in this together. This is something you can practice alone, or with your children, or with your friends, time and time again, as often as you'd like. And we hope you will. And we hope that you will find comfort and communion every time in the deep green forest.
May what we bring to the forest be no different from what we bring to this community. All of our joy and our grief, our resources, our hopes, our memories. All of these are gifts. All of us have them in different quantities at different times in our lives. As the ushers come forward today to receive our morning offering, know that we all bring different things to the betterment, the nurturance, the strengthening of this community. And one very simple thing is we can communicate with one another. For our coffee hour conversation today, I encourage you perhaps to give the gift of sharing what you wrote on your leaf with someone, or share an experience that you have had that's been significant for you in the forest. So, thank you for all of the ways that you contribute to the well-being of this community and the broader community of all creation.
invitation today, I'm going to share one final pantoum that I wrote at Rockport. It's not that long, but you can sit down if you'd like to. I wrote this one at Rockport State Park, which is out Highway 20 East at the foot of the Sauk Mountain. And the pantoum is entitled Immersion and Emergence. Immersion and emergence sustains me and gives me hope. I wander deep into the heart of the forest. I breathe, cry, spew, and sweat, because I've learned that your great expansiveness can hold and compost it all. Emptied, I emerge in hope and wholeness, ready to love again. I wander deep into the heart of the forest. Sometimes I weep with wonder, and other times I laugh out loud at your lavishness. Emptied, I emerge in hope and wholeness, ready to love again. A metamorphosis happens, and I am reborn. Sometimes I weep with wonder, and other times I laugh out loud at your lavishness. I bow in reverence to your magnificence and generosity. A metamorphosis happens, and I am reborn. I pour out water from my bottle and offer it to you in love and gratitude. I bow in reverence for your magnificence and generosity. I breathe, cry, spew, and sweat, because I've learned that your great expansiveness can hold it all. I pour out water from my bottle and offer it to you in love and gratitude. Immersion and emergence sustain me and give me hope. May it give you hope also. Let's circle round for freedom.